To our viewers, this is episode 1 of RADA's Recovery and Resilience Forum. It is quite devastating to witness the damaging effects and impacts of Hurricane Melissa with unprecedented losses, especially in the hardest hit western parishes. In light of the significant impact of Hurricane Melissa and the national urgency that we have on the way, efforts on the way by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Mining. This is an aim to accelerate the agricultural recovery and resilience. RADA has officially commenced a special 4-part live streaming public information series through a special stakeholder forum. And at this time, before we begin our official part of the agenda, I will invite Ms. Sharifa Leslie, our Senior Director of Social Services and Home Economic, to pray and bless the proceedings.
Providing wisdom, understanding, and resources, Lord, to help those who were devastated. Lord, we just pray as we go into this forum that you will direct our thoughts, our activities, our deliberations, and that, Lord, at the end, that they will be to the most benefit of those for whom they are meant. Lord, we give you thanks. And we pray these words through Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Sharifa. And welcome again to our viewers, not only in Jamaica land we love, but all over the world. We will be keeping this forum very tight due to the time constraints we have. And without any further ado, I will now invite Mr. Garnet Edmondson, Chief Executive Officer of RADA, to bring opening remarks and the national overview. Mr. Edmondson.
Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Mr. Floyd Green, our Minister of State, Honorable Franklin Witter, our fellow CEO from the National Irrigation Commission, Joseph Giles, from Agro Invest Corporation, Mr. Vivian Scully, from the Jamaica Dairy Development Board, Mr. Devon Sayers, and our Chief Veterinary Director of the Veterinary Service Division, Dr. Sophia Ramnal, from the Jamaica Agricultural Society, Mr. Darren Grant, National Fisheries Authority, Dr. Gavin Bellamy, and Managing Director, Jamaica Bauxite Mining Limited, JBM, Mrs. Donna Marie Howe. Sorry. Hurricane Melissa have been one of the most devastating storms in our history, leaving an impact of over 70,000 farmers across Jamaica. The hurricane destroyed some 43,570 hectares of crops, claimed over 1.4 million animals, damaged over 156,000 square feet of greenhouse space, and disrupted 357 kilometers of farm roads, irrigation systems, and marketing channels. To date, assessment of losses, as also mentioned by the Minister, of some over $30 billion. The Ministry of Agriculture, RADA, and of course other agencies, we lead the extension effort that will recover Jamaica agriculture. Our structured response plan is threefold: immediate 0 to 3 months, emergency intervention, which include assessments; medium term, 3 to 12 months, the rehabilitation of infrastructure, farmer training, and supply chain restoration; and the long term, 12 to 24 months, building climate resilience, diversifying production, and modernizing farm systems. This plan mobilizes our full technical, extension, and engineering teams across all parishes and leverage all partnerships within key agencies, farmer groups, and the private sector. Our emergency intervention in the first 90 days after the hurricane, RADA, as the chief extension arm of the Ministry of Agriculture, conducted a rapid damage assessment across all 14 parishes, distributed over $40 million in material, including seeds, fertilizers, and planting materials. Commenced free land preparation services for 6 months, including plowing, tilling, and land clearing to help farmers replant faster. One of our main focus as we speak is with our yam farmers across Manchester, Trelawney, Hanover. Those are some of our larger yam producing parishes, and of course, yam is one of our chief export earners, so we have to pay close attention to our vegetable crop farmers across parts of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and other parishes that sustain major damages. We have since then shifted some of these production to the eastern side of the island, where we're seeing farmers taking up these areas of production. Of course, we have also procured additionally $50 million worth of seeds that will impact some 1,000 hectares of vegetable roots and tubers in strategic zones. We have distributed over 500,000 sweet potato slips and other clean planting materials through the kind support of Bodle's Research Station. We would have included in those distribution pumpkin, cowpeas, corn, sorrel, Scotch bonnet peppers, among just a few of the distribution. In our mechanized area, just last week, the minister have handed over 6 walk-behind tractors. We'd have also dispatched another 4 new tractors in the service. Overall, our recovery effort for production is on its way, I'll just speak a little bit about livestock and infrastructure, although we have the CEO for the dairy board here. Would have procured some 100,000 baby broiler chicks and feed to produce over 150,000 kilograms of chicken meat, supporting protein availability and farmer income. Plan restocking of pigs, cattle, and small ruminants to rebuild livestock herds and improve farm resilience. So of course, our small ruminant, which is our goat farmers, we gone as far as looking at our rabbit farmers. You know, we'll take all those into consideration because, of course, we are cognizant that the hurricane would have affected those farmers. Greenhouse and protected structure, we will be rehabilitating over 85,000 square feet of greenhouse and 105 square feet of nurseries to restore a protected cultivation and clean planting system. We have also started to make contact and pull on board our private greenhouses that presently in production of seedlings. So in another 2 weeks' time, we'll be distributing another batch of seedlings to farmers. For irrigation, as you have seen, our partner from NIC is here with us, and the RADA engineers are assessing damages and restoring systems across the island. We are seeing some affected RADA system in the tune of $30 million. Of course, CEO Giles will speak more to a more wider and comprehensive approach on the matter. The matter of farm roads. Over 300 farm roads were reported damaged under the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. RADA has developed a rehabilitation program which is valued at some $2.7 billion with $800 million already committed to the road rehabilitation program. Of course, we are including in that farmer training, our RADA Connect initiatives. We are on the road. We are connected with our farmers to ensure that the training and the recovery effort is intact. Our fertilizer distribution would have gone through a number of parishes and to date distributed over 1,000 bags of fertilizer. Come this week, we'll be in the parishes of St. Anne, Manchester, Trelawney, and over the Yam Belt to distribute over 5,000 bags of fertilizer. Of course, our climate smart agriculture will be taking a key role in our initiative to ensure that we look forward as to how to prepare for upcoming hurricane season. Of course, we are mandated to get the country agriculture back up and running. And I must thank my team, the team from RADA that has been also affected by this hurricane, but yet the men and women, they are out every day to ensure that we recover stronger and better.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edmondson. Thank you so much for that very important update on the interventions as it relates to Hurricane Melissa. And thank you also for outlining the key objectives as we seek to respond to our farmers and to strengthen the resilience of the sector. Now, let me just say to our viewers right here, we have, if you want to say the cream of the crop for the agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, yes, I can't say less than that. We have, well, you would have just heard from Mr. Garnet Edmondson, RADA CEO. We have from the National Irrigation Commission Limited, Mr. Joseph Giles, CEO. Agro-Invest Corporation, Agro-Invest, CEO, Mr. Vivian Scully. Jamaica Dairy Board, CEO, Mr. Devon Sayers. Chief Veterinary Director, Dr. Sophia Ramlal. Unfortunately, she's not with us at this point in time. She had to rush off to a matter, an emergency matter that concerns national interest. So we are hoping that she'll be able to join us shortly. We have Jamaica Agricultural Society CEO, Mr. Darren Grant. Welcome, sir. CEO of National Fisheries Authority, Dr. Gavin Bellamy. Welcome. And Managing Director, Jamaica Bauxite Mining Limited, Mrs. Donna Marie Ho. Thank you very much for you all coming. And we will now ask each agency, now I don't know if you remember the order in which you were called, but nonetheless, I will assist you with that. First up is National Irrigation Commission, Mr. Giles. Each will be given just a brief update as it relates to their individual entity and all the immediate actions and activities that is being undertaken. And so at this time, Mr. Joseph Giles from NIC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shah. Good evening, colleagues. In the wake of Hurricane Melissa, our nation has once again been reminded of the vulnerability of our food systems and the critical importance of strong, reliable infrastructure. The NIC wants to say to the country at this time, as devastating as Melissa was, if you want to say is, we were able to resume our normal operation to 95% of its capacity. Albeit we would have suffered extensive damage, but because of forward planning from Hurricane Beryl, we have put some mitigation measures in place and we are reaping the benefit. However, because we have a large infrastructure to provide irrigation services to our customer, we would have suffered a lot, especially from the power utility company. However, the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining decided that they want to invest, and they did invest, in providing the NIC with a number of generators that we were able to supply our customer when it is needed most. So as the hurricane passed, we were able to, about 3 to 4 days, start to restore irrigation services to some of our customers. Not only to our customers, we were able to provide water to communities, albeit it is non-portable. As we speak, the NIC would have suffered loss to the tune of nearly $200 million if you look at the economic cost from the revenue that we would have lost. But as it relates to physical infrastructure, we would have suffered about $45 million loss. But the tagline for the National Irrigation Commission is irrigation making the difference. And I can say, as a company, we're making the difference. As I said earlier, we're presently supplying 95% of our customer, both from the JPSCO and as well as from generators that we would have procured. In the latter part of the discussion, I'll enunciate some more on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Giles. A good start. Especially with the timekeeping part there. Thank you so much. All right, so we now ask Mr. Vivian Scully, Agro-Invest CEO, with his updates at this time. Mr. Scully.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, viewers. Across our AgroPark network, which comprises 10 agroparks and 15 production zones and over 12,000 acres, we suffered some amount of damage. Melissa struck the park pretty much at the peak of one of our production cycles. So across Amity, Ebony, Parnassus, Spring Plain, we saw measurable damage. And on the northern side of the country, in the Lennox, Lower Leeton, and New Penn areas, we had significant damages there, especially to bananas and plantains across those parks. So immediately we had teams getting out there to check on our farmers, our irrigation systems, or road access. We had significant damage to greenhouses across our facilities, and some amount of electrical and cold storage damages. The real point is that the storm exposed our infrastructure gaps and how thin many of our farmers are. Immediate actions we took: within 48 hours, we were on the ground out there assessing damage. Field assessments, we looked at drains, what needed to be reopened, emergency roads that needed to be addressed, and we commenced farmer engagement. We've had 2 so far this week with farmers on the southern side of the country, and recently with those on the northern side, just to get feedback as to what needed to be addressed to get them up and running quickly. The action is to ensure that we boost our production across the parks to reduce the impact of our food security. So what happens next? We're not just rebuilding pre-Melissa, we're moving to a stronger baseline, building back stronger. We want to restore full irrigation functionality, and we've had significant support from NIC in doing that. So despite the electricity challenges, they have mobilized generators to get the pumps going and cleared whatever obstacles there were to our irrigation. So within a couple of days, most of the parks were getting water. We're now coordinating replanting. We're also working with the agro producers just to determine needs that they're going to have and ensure that we're planting to support the agro-processing sector and also the export sector. We're working with DBJ. They've launched a M5 funding program that will give the farmers a lower interest rate to bounce back into production, and we're coordinating that with our partners there, along with our technical expertise to significantly boost production. So as the program rolls, we'll share more about the Boost Recovery program that we're launching as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scully. At this time, we'll have Mr. Darren Grant, CEO of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, with his update.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to commend Mr. Edmondson and his team from RADA for organizing this Recovery and Resilience Forum. In addition, I also want to commend my colleagues as well within the ministry and the ministry and the minister for their continued support of the Jamaica Agricultural Society. An event such as this is fundamental in that it, in the absence of facts, people speculate, and that in most cases result in a lot of discontent between the farmers. So I must commend you, Mr. Edmondson, and your team for bringing the facts to the people. Immediately following Hurricane Melissa, my team within 70 to 72 hours was out there collecting information in areas that we had access to. We know the challenges that we faced with regards to communication and access to the roads. But being an umbrella organization, we had the opportunity of communicating with some of our commodity association, and some of the immediate impacts in terms of information that we would have received, especially our coffee farmers would have seen, would have had reports of over 100,000 boxes of coffee that would have been lost. The coconut industry have also taken a beating as well, somewhere in the $350 million. A wide cross-section of our membership are those small and micro farmers that predominantly are subsistent farmers in some aspect. And as a result of that, in the most affected parishes, they were significantly impacted, especially our small poultry farmers. In most instances, they would have lost their entire livelihood, the birds, and I have to also note that a number of them have also lost their dwelling as well. So our effort, our immediate effort, was to seek support. One, to ensure that their livelihood would have been protected, that they are protected, their homes. Would have partnered with United Way, and I'll give more updates on that later, which will be implementing small grants to these farmers. We would also start our hurricane relief effort. So to immediately address some of the immediate demands of our members in Westmoreland. We have been in Westmoreland, Trelawney, and we're going to St. Elizabeth and Hanover shortly. So in brief, the JAS, although there's a large task ahead of us in terms of getting to everybody, we are out there and we're still in the process. The process of data collection is still active, and as such, we will be partnering. Well, we have partnered with everyone around this table to ensure that we reach as much individual as we can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. We'll now have Dr. Bellamy from National Fisheries Authority with his update. Mr. Bellamy, Dr. Bellamy.
Good evening. The update on the fisheries sector. As of 48 hours after the passing of Hurricane Melissa, the National Fisheries Authority teams went out to do rapid evaluations of what occurred, especially in the western parishes, but we had experienced damage and problems from the tropical storm waves from before the storm made landfall in the eastern part of the island. Having done the evaluations, we came up with the rapid evaluations about $77 million worth of infrastructure damage to the National Fisheries Authority's buildings. On the aquaculture side, that is our tilapia, shrimp, or ornamental fish farmers, we had about $78 million worth of damage. When you looked on the capture fisheries side now, that is the seafaring part of our fisheries establishment, we had significant damage around the island with approximately 3,200 vessels in various states of damage, accounting to an estimate of about $2.9 billion worth of loss for the vessels. And for infrastructure, for the fishing beaches, I saw you were just showing one of the piers in White House. The infrastructure, we had about $2.74 billion worth of damage to the fisheries sector. So as soon as the evaluations was done, we started to work with partners and fishers to start to clear the debris on the fishing beaches, the access to the beaches, access to the sea. We made sure to use generators to bring up back our fuel stations that were functional. We had lost a couple of them. One totally, our facility in Black River was totally devastated. And we are working on getting water, potable water to the fishing beaches and ice to allow for post-harvest handling of fisheries products. So we have been making other interventions so far, but we'll discuss that later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bellamy. Jamaica Bauxite Institute. We will now hear from our CEO as she brings her updates.
After the passage of Hurricane Melissa, the first thing we done was to ensure that after assessing that all our staff were safe, was to look about our critical infrastructure. We are the operators and managers of 2 ports, the Reynolds Pier in Ocherius and the one in Discovery Bay, which is under Discovery Bauxite Partners, that exports cargo of bauxite. So an assessment was done. We went straight down to both of the ports, down in Discovery. That one sustained a lot of damage on the port itself, some of the buildings on the terminal, and the dome there sustained some damage. And then on Ocherius now, which is key, as we know, it's a tourism resort. The port, Reynolds Pier, sustained moderate damage. There were some poles that were down, and just a lot of clean-up was done. So within 72 hours, we got the port up and running, and then we heard that a cruise vessel was booked to come in. So it's a multi-purpose port. Reynolds does for cargo and cruise, and so we had to ascertain that we could get the cruise vessel in, so we went into clean-up mode for Ocherius, and we started receiving relief packages and pallets in, and I was the first port to receive those relief packages in. We do have a long-standing relationship with the agriculture sector, and I'll come into that. But it was very important to get productivity and operations back in Ocherius, and that was our first modus operandi. Then we looked at what we could do in terms of recovery and relief. We, in our bauxite communities, we have operating bauxite in the Discovery Bay, but on our mined out lands where there is mature farming operations going on, we touch base with our RADA extension officers in St Anne for them to do the assessment to see what damage was they had sustained. We know that what we looked at, we went into, we said, right, how could we help in those bauxite communities? So we went to Salem, Woodstown, Betheltown, Farmtown, and we provided relief by way of building materials to those communities. One critical relief that we supplied to was over in St Anne in Cave Valley, was Norwood. They were actually marooned in. In visiting them, we saw that they had marooned in 10 feet of water. So we supplied some resources there in the way of water tanks to release all of that water because it was impassable, the road, and gave them some support by care packages. So it was principally in the supporting national support by way of St Anne Parish, getting our critical infrastructure up and running to receive the relief packages at our port, and then going into the recovery phase. In terms of recovery as well, we've also donated building supplies through Municipal Corporation of St Anne's Infirmary, Edgehill School for Special Needs, and what we will be doing going forward is working, as I said, with the RADA and extension officers in these key areas of St Anne's where there's a huge farming community, and getting some of those seeds to them and helping doing the preparation, because in St Anne you would have said that they would have sustained crop loss of 80% of plantain and banana crops, 40 to 50% of vegetables, and 20% of yam. Most of those areas are in mined out lands in St Anne, so we will continue that partnership there, and that's an update for now.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Ho. Our viewers, we know you have so many questions, our 3 social media platforms. Oh, Mr. Sears, my apologies. And we need milk to drink. So we're coming straight over to you, sir. So at this time, before we move on to the question and answer section, we'll have Mr. Devon Sears, Jamaica Dairy Development Board CEO. Go ahead, sir. My apologies.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I was almost left off the program. I don't know if it's deliberate, but the dairy sector suffered similar damage to all of the other sectors, from slight damage in the parishes to the east to major damage to the parishes in the west. In total, we had loss of milk, meaning that because of the loss of power, a lot of the farmers had to dump milk in the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Hanover. Right, we had major infrastructure damage in those parishes also. Right, we had damage to the milking sheds, and also, to be frank, a lot of damage to the homes of the farmers. Right, and if the farmers are not comfortable within their homes, then they can't sufficiently take care of the animals. So within the first 3 days of the ending of the storm, we were out there taking up our assessments of what's going on with the farmers. Our estimates show that we have incurred around $326 million in damage to the dairy sector. Major impact on around 16% of our industry, which basically is our St. Elizabeth and Hanover farmers, which make up one of the largest productions areas for dairy in Jamaica. But what we have done since the storm, learning from the lessons from Hurricane Beryl, we, in the months of June and July, we procured what we call our farm care kits that contain medication for animal stress, right, and also some items that the farmers can use for disinfecting their own homes. So learning out of the lesson, we did that. So within the first 24 hours, we could have gotten those to the farmers after the assessment was done. Also, we have distributed animal feed in the weeks previous to the, after the storm. Around 20 tons of feed has already been distributed to the farmers. We have also had to send mastitis medication because a lot of the animals had to be taken out of production. And once they're out of production, then you have to basically dry them off. All right. And we continue now to move into the next phase, which is looking at the infrastructure, how we can assist the farmers with getting the infrastructure up. So we're looking at that side of the sector to look at. Also, we have suffered some animal loss, not major. We expected more, but thank God we didn't have a lot of animals being lost out of the dairy sector. So we've moved on now to look at where we can find replacement animals for the farmers. As you know, that we have to get them back up into production as quickly as possible. And just to wrap up, because I know we want to move into the question and answer side, our farmers continue to produce even though they are under immense stress. And I hope a forum like this can bring it to light that the ministry is active and we're strong and we'll recover even better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sayers. Very important update. And, I just want to say thanks to our hard-working farmers. Our small farmers are primarily responsible for food security in Jamaica. And with a hit like this, a Category 5 hurricane, unprecedented, something that, one person would say, we don't know how to prepare for it. But indeed, there's a lot of lessons learned. And so we are seeking now to build stronger and better for days and years to come. Now, our 3 social media platforms, they are buzzing with questions. So what the organizers for this forum has done, they have collated some thematic questions, one for each of our panelists. Of course, after this, we'll be taking direct questions from our social media platforms. Now, not everybody questions will be asked, but the RADA social media platforms, so the Facebook, the Instagram, the website, and also the ministry's website are places that you can post these questions and follow-up answers will be given hereafter. So, to our National Irrigation Commission, the question to you, Mr. Giles. Based on areas that now have access to water, coming out of Hurricane Beryl last year and previous disasters, in years before, what are some of the lessons learned that has allowed you and your team to respond so quickly?
Very much, Mr. Shaw. Before my board chastise me, let me just use this forum to say that the board of the NIC, one of the first things they asked the management to do was to do a rapid assessment of what happened to our staff. About 42 of our staff were impacted by the hurricane, and they put together a package that we provide care package to the staff, because they, even though they were impacted, they were out there 48 hours doing assessment of the damage done by Melissa. So I want to just put that on record. We have learned, the ministry has said to the NIC, you are an essential service provider. So they have embarked that we have water trucks. As a matter of fact, they have even taken one from JBI to assist GMBM to assist us in water delivery. To date, we have delivered over 3 million gallons of water in the affected area. But not only water trucks, they have ensured that we have 6 heavy-duty generators. As we speak now, 4 of those generators are currently in operation to provide the 95% of the irrigation service. And that will last until JPS can restore its power supply. And I can tell you in some of those areas, we're looking at maybe next year, March or so. So they have made that investment to ensure that we can provide irrigation service. And what we have done, we have looked at the areas. So we have to ensure that the areas that have livestock farmers, especially the poultries, so we had to strategically place those generators. So we look at the areas where it was easy to get into as after the hurricane, and we deployed those generators. As power started to restore in some areas, what we do, we move the generators into the more affected area once we get. So the ministry has invested in generator. As we speak, we are presently procuring more generators to ensure that all our stations, the critical stations, what we have embarked on to ensure that all districts have at least 2 generators can supply irrigation service to our farmers, albeit limited. So that is what we have done. We have learned from Beryl that we need to do a little forward planning, and we have those plans in place. So we have a rapid response team. As the hurricane finishes, that team goes out and do the assessment, and we start to deploy to provide the services.
Thank you so much, Mr. Giles. Very important, because, just last week, we had IDB and UN ECLAC mission. And that team is responsible for developing the report, the national report, to submit to PIOG and GOJ as it concerns Melissa. And as we comb through these areas, one of the things persons were crying for is clean water. It's such a devastation out there, especially in the western side of the island. So, Mr. Giles, what NIC is doing along with NWC is excellent, providing clean water for communities to use. AgriInvest Corporation, Mr. Scully, question for you. The agri-parks are now being called upon to fill a percentage of the gaps in production arising from the recent passage of Hurricane Melissa. Can you indicate what is being done in this regard and how agri-park farmers can be a part of this process?
All right, great. The technology works. Yes, so we're not waiting for the dust to settle or the ground to dry. We have launched a 1,000-acre boost recovery program by engaging our farmers just to find out what areas they need support in. We have received $30 million from the ministry, and we're rolling out a seed support program along with chemicals and land prep across the agri-parks, which are able to get up to speed quickly. We're rehabilitating the roads and the drains around these agri-parks. We're also coordinating with the agro-processing companies to identify inputs in terms of crops that they need for their production, and then linking that back to the farmers to ensure that whatever boost in production that occurs, it can be absorbed by the producers in the market, as well as through the local food service industries. We're rebuilding our greenhouses, we're building our facilities. We've had a $200 million damage across our own agro-invest facilities. We're, along with getting the insurance claims in, we're from cash flow rebuilding those to ensure that the operators within those facilities can get back to work and continue to support the food logistics chain in the country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scully. Thanks for the work that you and your team are doing out there. Jamaica Dairy Board, question: what immediate interventions are currently being implemented to help dairy farmers resume operations, particularly in light of damaged infrastructure and the continued need to manage animals that are still producing milk? In addition, what measures are being taken right now to safeguard animal health and welfare during this recovery program?
Thank you for that question. In the immediacy right now, in the areas that are heavily damaged, there is basically no shade. So the animals are suffering immense heat stress. So we're in the process of procuring shade cloths to be used for the covering of the feeding areas. And also, the pastures are heavily damaged, and a lot of the fencing for the animals' protection have been basically gone. So we have been delivering fence posts from the other side of the island to the western region, right? And we have also made an emergency procurement for grass seeds, because even though we had a lot of rain, the wind basically beat out the life out of the grass. So we're going on a replanting effort within the next couple of months so we can get the pastures back up and running to functionality. We continue, as we said, to support the farmers. As you know, that every day the situation may shift from just animal feed to even procuring veterinary care for the animals. So we're looking into that right now to have our procure a vet to visit the farms regularly until the animals fully recover into production. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Devon. For Jamaica Agricultural Society, Mr. Grant, as an umbrella organization that represents the interest of commodities and a wide cross-section of small farmers, can you say what is being done by the organization to ensure that all interests are being represented?
For that question, Chairman, one of the first things that we set out to do was to collect the information from our stakeholders and also our farmers as well. One of the challenges that we have is that we do not want to have an overlapping of our services or our inputs. And that is why the gentlemen and ladies that sit around this table, we meet on a weekly basis to ensure that there's no overlapping of services and support to the farmers. I also want to, before I get into the question, to indicate, because we have been getting a number of questions from farmers to say they will see fishery but they don't see RADA, or they see RADA but they don't see dairy board. And I just want to say to them today that wherever you see an agency, it is the Ministry of Agriculture. And the information that we would have gotten from the JAS immediately after the hurricane would have been passed up into a system, and RADA is seeing it, Dairy Board is seeing it. So what we have is really an umbrella approach to the recovery effort rather than individual agency. And I want that to be clear, because a lot of times when we go there, they say, but we see RADA, but we are not seeing JAS, or we are seeing Dairy Board, but we're not seeing JAS. This is a deliberate attempt to prevent overlapping of this support to a farmer. Sorry. There's also one other thing that I want to get as well. Sorry. Is that while we understand the constraints that are faced by the farmers, I am encouraging those farmers who are able to start back their production to start it. Because while the support that we are advocating for is coming, it is not a total fulfillment of what was lost, but probably a subsidy to support them going back into production or assisting them into reaching back their full potential. As an umbrella organization, we represent a number of commodity association and affiliate organizations, namely the Coconut Board, Banana Board, Banana Farmers Association, the Coffee Farmers, among others, fisheries. And we have collected information from these associations in addition to our membership. And those information form a part of a comprehensive report that would have been submitted to the ministry and will be is being implemented in terms of support through the different agencies. Likewise, we would have partnered with United Way of Jamaica in their restoration and restoration fund, and in short order we should be seeing small grants going to farmers in the most affected areas, assisting with building back their poultry houses, goat houses, in addition to their dwelling, because as my colleague Sayers would have said, that a number of these farmers would have lost their home as well. So in our advocacy to United Way, we included their homes as a part of that support. Likewise, we would have gone to 2 parishes already, Trelawney and Westmoreland, where we would have delivered over 600 care packages to our members. And we intend to go into St. Elizabeth, St. James, and Hanover within the next week to deliver support to them. As a matter of fact, we have to also thank the donors who came in, because just this week we had a donor, 2 donors who donated from the United States. They were our past members, over $500,000 to buy building material to assist farmers in the most affected areas, which are St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, Westmoreland, St. James, and Hanover. So we are on the ground. The data collection is still ongoing, and as I said before, that our efforts are Yes, our efforts is as a joined-up approach, so that all agencies are involved in supporting the farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. That is such an important message. Point that once there is a member of any agency under the Ministry of Agriculture, you can take the time out to pass on information to them, because that feeds up into a central system and is distributed, the information is distributed accordingly. And this time, the question for Dr. Bellamy, National Fisheries Authority. The fisheries sector is one of the most affected areas and the impact was devastating. We know that your hands must be full, Dr. Bellamy, especially when it comes down to the marine fishing area. Can you tell us what can get us back to pre-hurricane levels?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. First of all, it's not my hands. All of the staff of the NFA, we are working united together, and I must compliment the staff. I had staff members who lost their homes, their roofs, everything, and they were out there the next day doing the evaluation of the fishers and fish farmers. So I'm proud of the staff that has been working. But what we need to do to get the sector back to where it was pre-Melissa, first of all, we have done the evaluation, so we need to work on the access to the beach and to the sea, so that it's clearing away the debris. We have started with partners, and we have partners from the mining sector that are helping the NFA to clean the beaches, and we have contracted private contractors to work with us to get this done so that the fishers will have access to their vessels and engines. The access to fuel, which we have basically got underway by providing generators to our offices, our fuel pumping stations, and the mobile fuel supply that has been provided by the government and the ministry. Vessels, as I mentioned before, we had over 3,200 vessels either damaged or totally destroyed. So it's to provide a way for fishers to repair or replace their vessels. And the NFA will be providing financial support through vouchers for this to be done. That also applies for engines and their fishing gear. For example, you could say in the affected area, almost 100% of the fish pots were lost or destroyed. That needs fishing wire. So far, the NFA has, with partners like Sandals Foundation, Bread's Foundation, and JSIF at the NFA, we have given over 900 rolls already. We have procured 2,000 more rolls, which will be distributed in the heavy affected areas and the least affected areas to get those fishers back out to produce. And basically, the water, ice, for the post-harvest handling of the fisheries product to ensure food safety. But the main thing for us to get back to pre-Melissa levels is to engage our fishers. I've been out there, I've been depressed by what I've seen, and the fishers who have lived the reality, they are the ones encouraging me, telling me we'll rebuild better, and get back out there immediately. And last but not least, rebuild the significant amount of infrastructure in the next phase, building back our fisheries infrastructure in a climate resilient fashion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bellamy. Thank you so much for that. And before our RADA CEO's question, we have a question for Mrs. Donna Marie Ho from the Jamaica Bauxite Mining. The question is, are there any collaborative efforts being done with the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, and what are they?
Thank you for that question. We always collaborate in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. So while the mining joined the ministries just under 2 years ago, JBM has had a long-standing relationship with RADA and the agriculture sector. So we have been using a lot of our resources in ways of our heavy-duty equipment. So you would see that and you've just heard from the National Fisheries Authority, that we've used our equipment to go in and prepare beforehand some of the fishing areas, and then after the passage of the hurricane, we'll be going back in there on our beaches. In terms of working with RADA, other agency, there we will be working in the predominantly large farming communities within the bauxite areas. So we'll be helping preparing some of the arable lands there that were used previously for mined out bauxite. And our other collaboration has been with NIC, giving them the water truck and assisting the farmers again with water. We are very fortunate that we have wells on our facility, so we have access to water there because we're self-sustained. We have a spring, so we are pretty efficient in that regard, and we'll be building out an agri-park. But specifically, with Hurricane Melissa passing, we from a mining point of view, we have spoken to the other mining sector, private bodies. They have donated, and so we'll be collaborating our efforts there. You know, we have the Bauxite Community Development Programme as well, which was established for giving back into communities and doing infrastructure resilient programs. So our efforts collaboratively will be looking into the sector of how we build more resilient agriculture environments, you know, as we will go into the agri-park as well that we'll be building out, that will be done in a more sustainable way, that will be able to respond to climate action. So looking forward, with that forward thinking ahead of us, we'll be using this and seeing how we can build back stronger, more efficiently with the resources that we have.
Thank you so much, Donna Marie. Thank you so much for that. And, you know, I think a little nudge from our social media platform. You know, persons have been wondering, where is veterinary division? We will soon get there. All right, we're not leaving you disappointed this evening. So our last question is for RADA's CEO, Mr. Garnet Edmondson. As the chief extension arm under the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, there is often an expectation that RADA should respond to every need and fully restore what farmers lose after a disaster. Can you clarify RADA's actual function and outline what farmers should reasonably expect from RADA in this particular situation? Mr. Edmondson.
Thank you for that question. It's one of those questions that you want to answer in the best way possible, because of course we have just experienced a Category 5 hurricane, and of course every farmer that you meet experience some level of damage, whether it is minor to major damages. So we say to our farmers, first, our technical advice is there. Expect that. Our technical team is out and continue to be out to advise our farmers. A forum like this, expect the kind of join-up agency approach that you're seeing now. CEO Grant alluded to it. This is just a representation of what will come and is on the ground. Our usual support in terms of inputs you can expect. So our livestock farmers will get their portion of input support along with our crop farmers. Also, an area that is not being spoken of, that support is really needed, is our fruit tree crop. You know, just this morning I was in a meeting, and the emphasis was placed on us looking at our fruit tree crop. And we're talking about soursop, we're talking about star apples, we're talking about breadfruit. Those trees that grow over 15 feet tall and suffer severe damage. So we have to look at those. The tourism trade depends a lot on that. So, of course, that is an area that farmers can look out for us. A matter of fact, a program is presently on the ground. This program was before Melissa, and we will make certain adjustment to the program, because particularly we know that, for instance, breadfruit that is grown in Hanover, they are grown not on orchard, but predominantly in the backyard or out in the cow pastures and so forth, and they do support the export markets. So yes, we have to pay close attention. So it's a full agriculture sector build back support that will be coming from RADA. And of course, the other CEOs are here that will support RADA, and RADA will support to ensure that farmers benefit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edmondson. So at this time, just before we go to our Clarendon satellite station, because we do have our farmers online, we recognize you farmers, we know you're online. We started a little bit late, and so we'll be attending to you in just a couple minutes. But before we do, I'd just like to introduce Chief Veterinary Director for the Veterinary Services Division under the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Dr. Sophia Ramlal. Welcome. We got the information that you were invited to another emergency meeting, and so we are happy that you are able to join us. So at this time, if you are able, I would just like you to just give a brief update as to the Veterinary Service Division's immediate response, you know, and challenges and so on, and exactly what's happening on the ground now.
Better? Great. Thank you very much. Apologies on being somewhat delayed. I assure it was in the national interest. We would have all undergone the same thing. We do recognize, and Minister Green was very clear in his presentation, that over 1.2 million animals were lost. A large amount of that we know to be poultry, but we would have had losses elsewhere. Our small ruminant sector, our cattle, pigs, others, companion animals as well. At the VSD, we would have been trying to take stock of what the losses are industry by industry. Our seminal role would then become how is it that we engage our systems as regulators to try to contribute to the food security initiatives, and in so doing, how is it that we start looking not to just shore up what is happening in Jamaica by understanding the losses, the sequelae to those losses or those disasters, the challenges that animals are having, but also how do we look to other jurisdictions? How do we support the ministry's thrust in looking for safe foods elsewhere, safe animals? How is it that we try in the short term? And so one of our critical roles would have been ensuring, and Minister Green has been very clear about this, how is it that we bring something simple as table eggs to Jamaica? So the VSD has been, that's been one of our primary goals. We are very comfortable that we've done that, and we've done that in a way that we can bring in those eggs safely. We're looking to other support for the poultry industry, and more anon on that. In the same way, we're also looking, exploring how it is that we can monitor all these donations that we've been having in terms of food coming to this country. because Jamaica is open for business and Jamaica is open for donations, but there is a Jamaica after the immediate relief effort, and we've been very blessed to get a lot of donations, but the VSD has had to maintain its role as regulators and trying to insert ourselves in the loop where the inspections are continuing, so much so that we've had already to separate, remove donations because we didn't deem them to be of safe origin or safe for consumption. The other things we've been doing on the ground, engaging with the very well organized public-private partnerships with agencies such as RADA on the public side, and then there are other entities such as the large broiler companies who've gone on the road through 4 or 5, 6 veterinary clinics in the most impacted areas. So the VSD has been on the ground trying to get information about that, handing out medication, offering veterinary services, and we plan to continue that because those partnerships are very important in just us understanding the magnitude of what has happened. We've had the ability, the opportunity to look by air and by ground as to some of the more impacted communities where there are animals that may still be marooned, or just to get an assessment of the situation with carcasses. There's been a lot of talk about carcasses in the public space or carcasses that have not been managed. So we've also been working to get our own information, working in the background with the Ministry of Health and Wellness on those issues, and more topically now looking at the issue of leptospirosis and the threat that animals pose to other animals, to farmers, to people generally. So we continue to do the regulatory things. We realize there's a notch up and there's all the other things that we need to do really to just secure animal population and to look to safe food and safe animal alternatives as they become needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramlal. At this point in time, we will be moving to some of our farmers who are online, particular Clarendon satellite farmers. They are online now, so we'll just turn over to them and we'll take some questions from you at this time.
Pleasant evening, everyone.
Pleasant evening. Go ahead. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. All protocols have been observed. I am Leroy Reed, farmer from Northern Clarendon, Bagwell, to be specific. Just over a month, we would have had the hurricane. School will be out in another 2 weeks. And after the Christmas break, school will resume. So in another month or so, school will resume. We speak about food security, but farmers also make a livelihood from farming to sustain themselves, their dependent family, and the community as a whole, where the economy goes on, viability. I want to know from Mr. Edmondson, CEO of RADA, when we, the farmers of Bagwell, can get the resources to go back into production, and what resources we can get to start up our immediate income, given that, Christmas is over 3 weeks and school will resume in another 1 month after it break. So give me some time specification as it regards to sale.
Thank you, sir. Let me start off by saying, just last week, we were out in Bagwell, and we saw that the farmers have started preparing their lands. we would have distributed seeds in Bagwell. And this week, Bagwell will be getting fertilizer. We also expect this week that seed distribution will take place in Bagwell. We had a farmers meeting out there, and we would have asked our team to supply us with information regarding land preparation. That information would have been sent to us recently, and of course we are dispatching tractors to your area. Let me just make it clear to you. In order to get us up and running quickly, we have taken the approach not to dispatch singular tractor all over the island. But what we have done is group 3 or 4 tractors together to make sure that we capture a large amount of land in our preparation. So, for instance, if you are in St. James as a farming group or in a community and you have 200 acres of land, when one tractor will take 3-4 days, even 2 weeks to complete, when we send 3 tractors, that will be completed in a matter of maybe 2-3 days. So Bagwell, of course, visited. We have seen that the water have been dried out from the land, and we are prepared to send the resources in terms of tractors down in Bagwell to start the plowing. Of course, you must understand that the damages are widespread across Jamaica, and to fit resources in every space immediately will be a challenge, but we will be with you. As I said, this week, Bagwell will be getting some resources, and thereafter, the tractors will be coming in their numbers.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Edmondson. And before we take another question from the satellite, Clarendon satellite farmers, I'd just like to take 2 questions from YouTube. They are directed to Mr. Scully. So the first one is, I have lands that can be used for farming. No, sorry. From Philip from YouTube, directed to Mr. Scully. Sorry about that. Has the AIC considered setting up an agro park on the Point Estate in Hanover? So the question is there any consideration for Point Estate in Hanover? Mr. Scully.
Okay, so Philip, feel free to reach out to us. I'm not sure where Point Estate is. We do have lands in Hanover in the Parbuckle Wharf area, which we're looking to set up a production zone. It's close to 200 acres there. There is some amount of flooding that takes place from time to time, so if we can identify the right crop selection for that area, we're open to getting interested parties looking at developing that area. But feel free to reach out to me at AgroInvest.
And another question from YouTube. I have lands that can be used for farming, but the road access is bad. Will there be a road building scheme to access new farm lands? Well, we read the question, but we can't reference it. I mean, we're not sure where this location is, so I just encourage you to send an email to RADA, your nearest RADA office, whether you can contact your RADA extension officer, or you can post it on social media, Instagram, and we'll respond. But ensure that you put the location. We'll take the second question now from Clarendon satellite farmers.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Michael, president of the Tapalston and adjoining areas group. My thing is rather a concern rather than a question. In our area, we suffer in terms of getting water. Living in between 2 pump stations and there is no water. And I being a goat farmer, specializing in genetical breeding, where one animal drinking up to more than a gallon of water per day. And we have to pay like $3,000 for one of those white tanks when we buy it from the truck. So I'm wondering what can be done in our community.
Could you just indicate your specific location, please?
Top Alston. That's in the Spalding Division. Spalding Division.
That is, I think, outside of the National Irrigation Commission's operation.
What is the gentleman's name?
Wayne Smart.
If there are any sustainable water source in that area, the NIC is willing to take a look. We will be more than able to have a filling station, but we have to ensure that there's a sustainable water source, because it spells no sense we come now when you have rain, and in dry time, that is when you really need the water. So you can reach out to the NIC. We will have a look. We'll do some recon, and if it is possible, we can establish a filling station.
Wayne, check. Your officer Miguel will be out there soon too. He's one of our deer goat farmers also. So just today, I spoke to Miguel, and I've instructed him to pay a visit in the week coming. So look out. You can make that request to him for the tank.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Sales. So that's a direct response to a solution to your question. Thank you so much. Before we let me take another question from our social media platform. The name of this person is Danique. The online AgroPark application has no option to select a location. Are all locations booked? Mr. Scully, I'm not too well. So what the person is saying is that apparently they went online to do an online application, not sure which parish, but there is no option to select the location. So they're asking if it's because all the areas have been booked out.
Yes. Most of the areas are booked. It was recently opened for the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project, and that was oversubscribed in the month of October, and so we've closed applications on it. We are, however, uploading an expression of interest form, and that should be up within a week, so you can take a look back on it, especially as we are now looking at our low production and underutilized lands that we have across the country in order to bring those into production. And where lands are leased and are not being used, we are preparing to have those reassigned for a one-year period post-Melissa to ensure that production continues to be increased to support our food security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scully. We'll take another question from the Clarendon Satellite Farm Group.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Nashiba Monty Blackwood. I'm from the Bournemouth Fishing Beach in Portland Cottage. My questions are to Dr. Bellamy. Dr. Bellamy, we are facing different projects that are underway on the south side of Jamaica. What measures are taken to show that fisher persons or fisher folks won't face a challenge with their livelihood? My next question is, we faced challenges last year with Hurricane Beryl, this year with Melissa, but we had a meeting with you a few days ago about these Category 5 big boats that are taking our fish pot away. And by the following day, those big boats are in the same area, taking the few fish pot that the fisher folks have survived from. What measures can you put in place to assure us that those boats won't be able to be in that area where the little persons are that are living off a few fish pot that the hurricane have left us with?
Good afternoon again. And it was nice seeing you last week, Thursday, and we discussed these points. First of all, as you are well aware, the sea is open and all fishers, legal fishers, have the right to fish in every area. We understand what is happening between the interaction with the industrial and the artisanal fishers. And you know that we have a grievance mechanism. And the fisher who has been affected by this problem, we had further discussions with him just today, this afternoon, and we have spoken with the industrial fishers, and we are working on an amicable solution between the two of them, and to allow for the gentleman's agreement to continue, where the interaction between the industrials and artisanals will not be as much or won't be as problematic. So you know that I'm always available. You all have my number. So I promise you that there is a solution to that issue in train as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bellamy. There is a follow-up response from Marie.
And just to add to that question, you are from Portland Cottage. The JBM, in collaboration with national fishing authorities, have actually, that's one of the designated blue economy projects that we've worked on. We've just installed 15 solar lights into Portland Cottage there. We've also, we've done the dredging there to support the installation of the gabion baskets in Portland Cottage immediately after the storm in Beryl, and we've continued that effort. You will see that's what JBM put in, and then we've got the bathroom that my architects have built, they've done the plan for, that we're going to do the installation to come. So you'll see that in Portland Cottage very shortly. We would have done that announcement pre-Hurricane Melissa, but these are sustainable, resilient infrastructure projects that we're working. As you see, it's a collaboration effort here. So that's one of many of the blue economy supporting National Fisheries Authority that JBM have been doing. Right, so speaking specifically for Portland Cottage, yes.
Thank you so much for those responses. We'll take another question from the Clarendon Satellite Farm Group.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Herbert Freckleton from the Spalding area, specifically Topolston, Moravia, and Silent Hill. We have small farmers group, and this question really is going to Mr. Edmondson and Mr. Scully, because we had a greenhouse which got damaged, and we are seeking assistance. That greenhouse was designated to do clean ginger plants for the area, getting rid of the Verizon disease. But I hear Mr. Scully speak about the agro parks and resuscitating or refurbishing their greenhouse. But what about the small farmers in areas like those? And the second question is, how can the small farmers access the insurance coverage for our farm? Because we hear a lot about insurance, but it seems to be geared to the larger farmers instead of the small farmers that are a part of the farmers group. How can we access that?
Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Edmondson, Mr. Scully. Don't know who want to take it first.
All right, I can speak quickly to the support that we're giving to the greenhouse production of products like ginger. We do have a ginger program where we produce clean planting material on our Ebony Park agro park, and that is distributed to farmers in small communities. So we're gonna continue to do that. The program was affected by the hurricane, but we're rebuilding the greenhouses right now as we speak, and we'll continue to support the distribution of clean planting material across the small farmer network.
Let me add the matter of the insurance. You know, it's one of those things that I can tell you it is geared towards the small farmers. You know, farmers in Trelawney and Fishers. The farmers in Trelawney, Manchester, St. James, you know, will tell you that they benefited. Just last week, the GK Insurance and the RADA team were out there distributing checks. Now, we have been advocating and advising farmers to take up this insurance opportunity, you know, and we continue to do so. We continue to do so. Wherever the RADA Connect team goes, we bring along with us the GK team so persons can sign up. The government, Ministry of Agriculture, have initiated this effort and put in the financial resources of over $7 million that will aid approximately 3,500 farmers on about there. And we would have said to farmers that that is the bare minimum. You can always add on, so that the payout can be quite beneficial whenever there is a hurricane such as Melissa. So of course, we have seen where we have experienced this hurricane, and now we are seeing more farmers wanting to be on this insurance plan. It is important, I say to farmers, reach out to your RADA officers, reach out to your parish office to sign on to this program. You know, where you're not seeing your officers for whatever it is, whether it is insurance, whether it is input supply, we have established a WhatsApp line for farmers to reach out to us. We will take text, voice note, whatever it is that you want to send us. We have established this WhatsApp line, 436-8879. So it is 876-436-8879. Would have all by now understand that the communication through telecoms are really bad, and where some of our offices would have been retrofitted with Starlink internet, there are other areas that we still have communication problems. So of course, this is why we have established this WhatsApp line manned from our Kingston corporate office to ensure that we can communicate with our farmers. And I'll just repeat it slowly. 876-436-8879. And I'm sure the team will put this up in this broadcast so everyone can reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edmondson. And just by way of announcement, we're taking two more questions, only two more questions from the satellite farms, as we have time constraint and we'll be closing shortly. So let's have the next question from the farming group.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tyrone Anderson, a greenhouse farmer from Northern Clarendon, the Kellet Division. My question is in cold storage. Is there any plans in place to assist farmers of cold storage, and what is the future plans in place to invest in cold storage which can store ready produce and mitigate loss, which can also aid in food security measures, and also backup generators which can help store cold storage operations?
Thank you, Mr. Scully.
All right, so good question there. So the ministry is embarking on a extensive program to expand cold storage across the country. We've just completed a 5,000 square foot cold storage as part of a 25,000 square foot processing facility in St. Elizabeth. And we also have cold storage in the New Forest Duff House area. In addition to that, we're expanding across the southern cone with Coleyville, which a project which was broken ground about 2 months ago. That's going to continue after the hurricane in the Colleyville area. Kirkvine is almost completed, another cold storage facility for farmers in the Manchester area. At AgroInvest, we're working with another investor group to place solar cold storage across our AgroPark network, and we're putting 5 of those up within the next 3 to 4 months. So you'll hear more about those as we continue to roll the program out. At the AMC, we have restored 2 of our 4 cold storage units there, and we're working on bringing the other 2 into use, especially with the post-Melissa support that we're driving right now. You want to add anything?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Scully. And we'll take the final question from the Clarendon Satellite Group.
Good evening. My name is Clifton Lewin from Upper Clarendon, that is Mears Crawl, Bellsborough Farmers Group. My advocacy is about citrus. We have get intense damage from citrus, and not only citrus, but over the year from 2020, we have a meeting just like this, and we're promised chemical, and up until today, we have not received those in terms of assisting citrus. Citrus is a high value crop today, and we need assistance to keep the industry. Chotal, when that name is said, would be a citrus industry, and now citrus is almost wiped out in Chotal. So what is agriculture in terms of the ministry is doing about citrus? That's my question. And also, what are the grants that can be assisted to farming?
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Edmondson, would you respond?
There is a citrus program that is pre-Melissa. We have been actively assisting, pardon me, we have been actively assisting citrus. We, both us, RADA and Bodles, along with private nurseries, have been procuring and the growing out of rootstock for distribution to farmers. As far as I know, we have been doing this distribution. Now, for your area, I take note of the chemicals that is needed. Our agronomist, Mr. Loxley Waite, I'll ensure that he contact you as soon as possible. You can also reach out to your parish manager in Mr. Wayne Reed and have him pass on this information to us so we can help you. Yes, we do understand that the citrus industry is one that is very important. You know, our technical director, services director, have been pushing this charge in terms of reviving the citrus industry across Clarendon, St. Catherine, and even parts of St. James. So we welcome the question, and of course we'll continue to support. And one thing for sure, we will be coming into your area to meet with your farmers group to see what other challenges are there so we can support. So I know our parish manager is listening, and I will ask publicly that he put together this meeting as a matter of priority for us to be there no later than next week to discuss with the citrus farmers in that area.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edmondson. Ladies and gentlemen, to our viewers, those inside the room here, and our media, we thank you so much for participating in the first of a four-session series, looking at the recovery and resilient process for the ministry and its agencies in response to the devastation of Hurricane Melissa. At this time, just before we close, I'm just going to ask Mr. Edmondson to just give closing remarks CEO of RADA. After that, we will be dismissed.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, valued partners, as we bring this important session to a close, I want to express my sincere appreciation to each of you for your participation, your insights, and most importantly, your comments, your commitment to Jamaica agriculture recovery. Hurricane Melissa tested our systems, our resilience, and our coordination. But what we have seen since its passage is something far greater than the damage we have sustained. We have seen unity, innovation, and a clear determination to ensure our farmers rebound stronger than before. Today's discussion reinforced three powerful truths. Recovery is a shared responsibility. No singular agency, no singular stakeholder can rebuild the sector alone. Our strength lies in partnership such as these. Data planning and coordination are now non-negotiable. We must build back in a structured, predictable, and market-driven manner to avoid glut, protect farmers' income, and support national food security. Farmers remain at the heartbeat of everything we do. Every seed distributed, every farm road cleared, every greenhouse repaired, every extension visit. These actions must improve the lives and livelihoods of our people who feed the nation. RADA remains fully committed in its support of the recovery effort with transparency, efficiency, and urgency. We will continue to engage our farmers, agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture, private sector, NGO, financial institution, ministries, team members, and community organization, because your support amplifies our national impact. Let us leave here today with renewed purpose to rebuild smarter, to act faster, and to create a more resilient agricultural sector for Jamaica. On behalf of the Rural Development Authority, the Ministry of Agriculture, and its Fisheries and Mining, and its agencies, I thank you, and I look forward to a deepened collaboration as we move from recovery to growth. May God bless our farmers, and may God bless Jamaica, land we love.